Hey, what's going to be? It's the Max Danny coming to you guys with the my official recap, I should say, of the Detroit Red Wings versus Pittsburgh Penguins preseason game from October 4th. And it was a good game, realistically. The first period was almost entirely Pittsburgh. If I have to say it straight, it was almost entirely Pittsburgh. And these two teams were basically more or less. Detroit had more of their main roster guys playing. You know, they had Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, Sider, Wallman playing. And Pittsburgh had most of their AHL team playing, essentially. But this game, once it got going, it got going. It was chippy. It was overall an entertaining game. So, face stats as we start usually. Detroit outshot Pittsburgh. They were outshooting the hell out of them in the first period. I think Pittsburgh only had 2 or 3 shots on goal. It was like 11-3 shots on goal in the first period or something like that. And Detroit kept that up for most of the game. The 24 shots to Pittsburgh's 22. And I got to say, Nedeljkovic played. I don't think that was Nedeljkovic, honestly. As a Red Wings fan, I'm almost convinced that wasn't Nedeljkovic. I'm thinking that they signed Nedeljkovic, but Nedeljkovic is like secretly injured or something, so they threw somebody out there that is just godlike. Like, I think maybe they paid Sorokin under the table to be like, hey, here's $500,000 to play this one game for us, how about that? And I mean, that there's just no way that was Nedeljkovic, in my opinion. But yeah, 24-22 in shots in favor of Detroit. Face-off percentage leaned in Pittsburgh's direction, 51.7% to 48.3%. Power plays, 0 for 5 for Pittsburgh, 0 for 1 for Detroit. Pittsburgh had a lot of power plays, and some of them were justified and others really weren't. I think it was either Hinostra or Hayes. I can't remember exactly who. But they were not fun. It was like they were trying to be Brad Marchand, but they were just bad at it. At least Brad Marchand was entertaining, but he just wasn't here. I think it was Hinstroza. I'm pretty sure it was, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, 0 for 5 on the power play for Pittsburgh, 0 for 1 on the power play for Detroit. Penalty minutes, 16-8 in favor of Detroit. Like I said, a lot of penalties, a lot of tripping and kind of unnecessary penalties. But you're going to expect that from the young guys once they're trying to get up to NHL speed. Hits heavily in favor of Detroit, 25-15, and heavily in favor of Detroit as well. The blocks, 21-12, and that was when Pittsburgh was really starting to pick things up in a big way. So overall, as far as the base scores go, or face stats go, it was a fun game. If you look at it just based off the face stats, it looks like Detroit should have won by a lot, but like I said, Nedeljkovic, who I still don't believe is Nedeljkovic, was playing out of his mind. He stopped a breakaway from Raymond after Raymond came out of the penalty box. Literally 30 seconds after that, stopped a Larkin shot, and he stonewalled DeBrincat all night. So it was a good performance by whoever they had in net, because it wasn't Nedeljkovic. So as we get into the goals, the first goal in the first period as well was scored by Ouellet, who is a former Detroit Red Wing. He played for Detroit for a few years and didn't really do much. Second period, Daniel Sprong came out of the box on a face-off, and it was a beautiful, beautiful slap shot goal. Daniel Sprong is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the regular season. I'm predicting that. And then Simon Edvinsson from Copper. Oh, by the way, Ouellet was assisted by Harkins and Pustine. Last time, guys, I can't pronounce his fucking name. And Sprong was assisted by Petrie and Comfer. Edvinsson scored a goal. It was a beautiful goal too from Comfer and Wallman. That was a beautiful by Edvinsson. It was a good goal. It really made me want to have Mickey Redmond and Ken Daniels in studio again in the box, because boy, after having dealing with the Chicago announcers and the Pittsburgh announcers, it just wasn't good. Like, their broadcast teams just aren't good. Like, I had to deal with an entire 60 minutes of Chicago's, not even just 60 minutes. Like, if you go back to the first game Detroit played against Chicago, it was the whole fucking game. Both games, for the whole game, I had to deal with the Chicago announcers talking about how good Connor Bedard is, and then immediately showing a replay of him getting stonewalled by a fucking barely NHL goalie. Hell, he got stonewalled 3 times by Hutchinson, who's not an NHL goalie by any means. Have you seen his pads? Someone who has those kinds of pads isn't playing in the NHL, and they just were incessant about how good Bedard is. And then they show him getting stonewalled by somebody who's probably not even going to play in the AHL. Honestly, he's probably going to go to the ECHL or overseas or some shit. And it was very irritating. Yes, we get it. Connor Bedard is very good at the hockey game. We know. Anyways, like I said, broadcast announcers were not too good. They did pretty much the same thing with fucking Zahorna in this game. But otherwise, it was a fun game to watch. Like I said, it got really scrappy at the end. It was fun watching guys stick up for each other as far as Detroit goes. You know, Edvinsson was really, really wanting to get into it with a few guys. So it was just all in all a good game to watch. I was scared a little bit because going into the second period, both the ESPN and the Detroit Red Wings app said that Pittsburgh had scored, and it was 2-1 Pittsburgh going into the second period. And I'm like, no, that's not right. The scoreboard showed 1-1. What the hell's going on here? And yeah, it was just because ESPN fucked something up, I guess. So I wasn't the only one who was confused by it. Ryan from the Grindline podcast also was very confused by it, but nonetheless, it happened. Detroit, it was tied 1-1 going into the second regardless. Detroit comes out on top 2-1, and like I said, fun game. Cannot stress enough that it was a fun game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. My name is, as always, the Mex-Canadian, and I will talk to you guys later. Adios.